gentlemen. I am begging you, end hookup culture.
Because it's not cute or funny when men cannot act like grown adults.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope you are all doing well. So on today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at a video from another Fiend gang content creator, Locke the Bounty Hunter, titled "Modern Woman Humiliates Herself with a Plan." But really, guys, this is just a series of videos of modern women showing why dudes don't date anymore. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the first clip. Make sure to leave your thoughts and your comments.
Welcome to Competent Husband TikTok, because it's not cute or funny when men cannot act like grown adults. Yesterday morning, I woke up at 9 o'clock and came downstairs, and my husband was completely emptying the refrigerator and the freezer and entirely cleaning the whole thing out. I had not mentioned anything about that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Hang on a second. Are you implying that if you didn't exist, your husband wouldn't be competent enough to clean out a refrigerator? It sounds to me like you're trying to take credit for the refrigerator getting cleaned out, even though you weren't thinking about it, you didn't mention it, and you clearly had no intention of doing it yourself. This somehow implies that if he didn't do it, he would be considered childish and incompetent. So either you're a boss-based superwife because your husband did something that you were never going to ask him to do in the first place, or you're just frustrated because your husband took away an opportunity for you to humiliate him on TikTok. I know that sounds like a stretch, but come on, this is a modern wife on TikTok. This is where mental gymnastics come to shine.
I did not ask him to do that. I did not even say anything about it needing to be done. I had not been like out loud saying that I needed to do that. It did need to be done, but I hadn't said anything about it. He doesn't need a list from me of things that need to be done around the house. He used his eyeballs while opening the fridge, you know, probably to get something to eat that morning, to see that, like, oh, that should probably be done. So then he did it.
Congratulations!
I feel bad for this broad's husband. She honestly believes that if it wasn't for her, then the house and the marriage will completely collapse. Woman, what you're doing is profoundly insulting to your husband.
You know what gets me about these videos as well? Is like this woman is on here talking about the incompetence of men, right, in doing particular activities. But you know what I think is incompetent? Actually, scratch that, just straight up disrespectful. Putting information about your relationship, whether you think it's mundane or not, onto the internet as like a 30-plus-year-old married individual. I don't know why, guys, but these people just spend all day recording TikTok videos, complaining about their lives, complaining about their loved ones, you know, and I don't understand how people actually live with people like this. This is a married woman. Let that sink in for a second, right? This is a married woman who's complaining on TikTok about the behaviors of other people. Maybe you should get off TikTok, because as far as I'm concerned, that's a red flag, if any. I have no idea why people are just choosing to share their relationship information all over the internet. But hey, welcome to 2024, guys, where we complain about absolutely everything, you know? So that's that.
You're implying that men, including your husband, are incompetent idiots if they don't do jobs without them having to be told. But even when they do get the job done, they're still incompetent idiots because it never would have gotten done if you weren't leading the household. Now, I get it. You resent your husband and the life you have, and you're incapable of giving your husband any form of gratitude, but that doesn't mean you have the right to steal the recognition of his cleaning the refrigerator, nor does it warrant you openly insulting and disrespecting the poor guy to a planet-wide audience of nameless strangers.
I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way.
Yeah, see, before we get into the next clip, this is why a lot of dudes will go their own way and they won't have relationships, or they won't marry, or they'll just casually date. They'll basically avoid commitment, because individuals like this, I'm just going to straight up say it, are really quite annoying. Like, can you imagine living with a woman who you clean a fridge, right? And it's a problem, and she announces that to the internet. I would actually lose my mind within a few minutes living with someone like this, right? And the problem is, you have a lot of women who behave this way. They feel entitled, right? They see that guy on Instagram who's been in her DMs before, and he's got a way better life than her husband can give her. So we begin to resent him. Or what about that guy we used to date, but we could never get into a relationship? But, you know, he had something that my husband didn't. So now we make videos about how much we resent our husband, despite the fact that we, in all likelihood, contribute nothing. These masculine women who say that they, you know, have to control everything or everything goes to hell, I actually suspect that a lot of the leadership that they do impacts the household more negatively than they might think. You feel as though you have to direct everything, but really you're just a giant pain in the backside that has no utility. But let's continue on to the next clip here. And this one's absolutely hilarious. This woman wants to go on a bedroom fun strike, right? Because hookup culture is a problem, which I agree. So her solution, guys, is to go on a hookup culture strike. So let's take a listen to what she has to say here.
Exhausted with modern day dating culture, and I need your help. Men out here are no longer gentlemen. I am begging you, end hookup culture. If we cut off their behavior will change. If all of us come together by not together, I'm funny, we can change the dating culture. Send this to your girlfriends.
You know what the hilarious part about these messages is? There's a few things. Number one, yes, a lot of chivalry has gone completely out the window. You can thank yourselves for that. But it's just funny how they say this message, you know, girls, stop hookup culture, stop it. And I actually agree with her message here. I think hookup culture is completely degenerate. It helps absolutely nobody. But guess what? These women still jump on dating applications and go over to Chad's house within an hour. So, you know, this is the consequences of your own decisions, right? You can't simultaneously go out here, date random dudes and jump straight into their bedroom and then complain simultaneously that other men won't commit to you. It doesn't make any sense. And notice, guys, how this always happens when we approach 30 years of age. The complaining, it doesn't happen so much while we're in our early 20s because they're getting all the attention from men, you see. But as soon as the attention is removed, because that's what this really is all about, attention and commitment from men. When men no longer give, you know, the women in question the same amount of attention or the same amount of commitment, then it's a problem. It was never a problem before that when she was getting all the fun and all the resources and whatever else it may be. But now it's an issue, right? That's the funny thing about these videos is like you can call for this all you want, but the girls aren't going to listen. Let's wind it back a little bit and continue.
With modern day dating culture, and I need your help. Men out here are no longer gentlemen. I am begging you, end hookup culture.
I love how we're begging for traditional men, right? We're begging for dudes to go back to the traditional role. But the fact is that men are just responding. Why would men be traditional when you have a woman complaining about it, ironically on TikTok, right? This is a girl who has been with a whole bunch of random dudes complaining that the other gender isn't traditional. Absolute genius here, guys. You know, really Aristotle quality philosophy going on.
If we cut off their behavior will change. If all of us come together by not together, I'm funny, we can change the dating culture. Send this to your girlfriends.
So are you guys gonna tell her or should I? You know what? I'm right here. I'll do it. We don't care, sister. And by we, I mean the 80% of men that you actively ignore on a regular basis. Whether you stop having bedroom fun or not, it's literally the same thing to us. And the men who have slept with you in the past aren't gonna care either. They'll just pull up the roster and choose someone else because they have access to 31 flavors of, well, let's just call it pancakes and leave it at that. So gentlemen and gents, the sports book is open and we are taking us some bets. Let's see here. I've got a used penny from 1987 that says that this chick will last a whopping 36 hours on this so-called strike before caving in when the first Chad tells her to come over to his place because he's too lazy to put on some sandals.
You know what? I actually totally agree with that. Right? How long do we actually think, like Locke says here, right? How long do we actually think that this woman is going to remain celibate for? My guess, not very long. Okay, so we're complaining about the degenerate behavior, but I guarantee you she's going to resume it anyway. So what exactly is the point here? Also, these guys who you're saying, oh, we're not going to have bedroom fun with you anymore. These guys literally don't care. I think Locke really hit the nail on the head here. The guys who have all of the options, particularly on dating applications and things like this, They don't care if you uninstall the dating app. They don't care if you go on your little celibate mission, right? They're just going to go find somebody else. And that's the problem, right? You have a lot of women who are pricing other women out of dating. Why should a guy commit to you when he doesn't have to? Like, there is no incentive for the dude to commit to you. If you want a man to commit to you, that's fine. You just actually have to give him an incentive. And if your incentive is, well, I'm going to withhold bedroom fun from you because I want your respect, but I didn't do it to other guys, that's not quite going to cut it, because the guy's just going to sit there and go, well, you know, she went and had fun with all of these other guys, but not me. What, does she like me less than them? Like, why do I get the short end of the stick here? And also, typically, the men who are required, right, the men who come along and have to have a relationship with this woman, and, you know, she's going, no, I'm going to be celibate, I'm going to be celibate. The men who take the relationship offer up after the fact typically have to put in a lot more too, you know, because her standards have risen. So not only do you have to put in more effort, typically meaning more money, you actually get less in return than some dude on a dating application did when he was bored on a Tuesday night. So where's the incentive for men? Let's keep going.
Because that is the only way a modern woman can feel any form of emotional validation.
I know it, your family knows it, dogs know it.
So I'm not going to pretend I have any answers for this male loneliness epidemic thing going on, because I feel like it's a complex issue, and also some of those guys, it is their fault, and then others it's not. But something I've always found really interesting is that in platonic female friendships, women are very strongly encouraged to give each other a lot of both emotional and physical love and support. And I'm not saying that every woman has friends like that and no men have friends like that. I'm just talking about like what's generally encouraged by society.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Have you guys noticed that some of my videos have gone missing over here on YouTube? That is because I am slowly moving them over to locals where I can actually host them without the risk of getting in trouble. If you are not aware, many creators are starting to move over to places like locals, Rumble, etc. because YouTube is not really a free speech platform. So if you are interested in supporting the channel and getting access to videos that are no longer available here, make sure that you come and join us over on locals. The link will be in the video description down below. Supporters get access to their own exclusive videos that are no longer available to the public, so make sure you go to the link in the description and join us over there now. But anyway, guys, back to today's episode.
Really?
No, I know this isn't true in all cases, but I've always been under the impression that the sisterhood of women is kind of a nightmarish hellscape where a woman can either build you up, use you as an emotional crutch, have your back through thick and thin, or completely destroy your life if you eat the last slice of cheesecake, or give you refuge when your life is falling apart, or completely drag you down to their level of misery at a moment's notice. And it's impossible to traverse this sisterhood because all of those things can be committed by the same woman in the course of an entire friendship. Now, I'm not saying this is true for all women, mind you, but I find it interesting when it comes to the subject of male loneliness. The first thing you do is talk about how meaningful your friendships are while simultaneously saying you have no answers to speak of.
During the time periods in my life where I've been single, at least as an adult, I've never felt lonely or alone, and never felt a rush to get into a relationship.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
Because I have a lot of physical and emotional love and support from my female friends around me. I get a lot of hugs, I get a lot of compliments, I get a lot of like, you are important to me and I value you in my life, let's spend time together, etc.
Yeah, see, this is just called, let me wind this back. This is called being a woman, right? The reason why, and I actually slightly disagree with Locke here, even though I think he has a good point, but just very slightly. I think that, you know, this woman's saying that, oh, well, she's not lonely. Yeah, she probably is, but let's not take away from the fact that when a woman feels down, when she feels lonely, she can just open up her Instagram DMs to a bunch of guys who are willing to validate her and talk about her problems. I don't actually really believe that women are necessarily lonely at any given time. Now, they might cry and regret their decisions as they go into their 30s because, you know, they want to have kids and they can't get any eggs that are of quality anymore, right? They go into geriatric pregnancy. But a lot of these women are never actually truly lonely. And the reason why is because they're a woman. They can open up their DMs. They can get attention from random strangers, right? As long as they haven't eaten a whole bunch of McDonald's, they're still going to have more people care about them than the average man will. The average guy will go 2 weeks and maybe one of his friends will shoot him a DM or something. Right? This is not something where dudes are having a rough time and so that they can just get validation and support at any given time from random strangers or friends. Right? A lot of guys are having it a lot more difficult than that because nobody gives a crap about the average guy. Also, this woman's video is completely redundant because number one, she doesn't have any solutions like she says, and number two, she doesn't even care. Right? So it's really funny how these videos are made with like the hook of, oh, well, let's talk about male loneliness. But not only do we not even care, we don't even understand it to begin with. Hilarious content here. Let's keep going.
Friends around me, I get a lot of hugs, I get a lot of compliments, I get a lot of like, you are important to me and I value you in my life, let's spend time together, etc.
What we got here is a little game of show and tell. You don't want to show me nothing, but you're telling me everything.
Oh, sure. I absolutely believe you. You're rigid face.
On a side note, Locke's insert meme here, inserts are quite hilarious. Good stuff.
Me everything.
Oh, sure. I absolutely believe you. Your rigid facial expressions, emotionless eyes, and complete lack of any animated movement that show any sign of emotion or empathy are telltale signs that you've never experienced profound loneliness a day in your life. Your life is chock full of so many great moments of hugs and happy texts that you clearly can't contain the sheer amount of joy that you feel knowing that you have such a strong circle of friends. Now, even if what you said was remotely true, which I have my doubts, I don't see how this is relevant to the subject at hand. This isn't about friendship. This is about an entire generation of men who were never given the chance to emotionally bond with women because those women saw the average man as nothing short of a hateful incel who should feel honored to receive a 3-word rejection text with no less than 12 spelling errors. You are completely missing the point.
But I was talking to a male friend about this recently, and he was saying that the last time that he got like a genuine hug from a man was when he was like 12. And so the only real genuine physical contact that he ever gets is if he's either hooking up with or in a relationship with a woman. And ironically, the guys I know who do treat their friendships like that are often made fun of for being feminine. Again, I'm not presenting this as like an answer to a problem or something. It's just something relevant that I've been thinking about.
And
this actually brings up something interesting that modern women will never understand, and it's the sacred pact known as the bro hug. I'm only half kidding when I say this, but if two men exchange a hug, that's a meaningful gesture between two men. It's a sign that they've entered into the sacred trust of brotherhood, which is why we only hug the men in our lives that we implicitly trust. And even
Yeah, see, I was going to say that as well. I don't want to be hugging more dudes. You see what I'm saying? Like, this makes absolutely no sense to me. Oh, the cure to male loneliness is you've just got to go get more hugs from other men and friends and, you know, people around you and things like this. But I think that hugs are really, like Locke says, they're kind of reserved for something a little bit more important. It's kind of like how women will throw around the word, oh, I love this and I love that. And they'll say, I love you to all of their friends. But at the same time, they'll talk crap about their friends behind their backs. So how much meaning does it really have? How much meaning does a hug really have if you're giving it out to absolutely everybody? How much meaning does your love have if you love all of your friends and you love this and you love that? It's kind of got the same ring to it as that. But I don't understand this, man. I don't want to be hugging more people. I just kind of want to hit the gym and be left alone, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people also get confused between being lonely and actually feeling alone. Because to be honest with you guys, as I'm getting older, personally, I prefer to be alone. That doesn't mean that I'm lonely. That doesn't mean that I feel alone. It just means that I find people irritating. You understand what I'm saying? I just want to be left alone. It's kind of like when I go to the gym, right? All of these girls complaining about people that are talking to them and stuff like that. Number one, they're begging for attention when they do it. So what's the point of complaining? But, when I go to the gym and things like this, I don't want to be spoken to. I just want to be left alone. And that doesn't mean that I'm a lonely individual. These people conflate a lot of different things and they end up making no sense.
Even then, we still won't open up too much about what's bothering us because unless it is earth-shattering, our problems are our own. And although I can appreciate this woman honestly saying she has no solutions or any legitimate insight into the phenomenon, which may or may not exist depending on who you ask, but you really added nothing to the conversation outside of men just need to make more friends and get more hugs. So you've added nothing to this conversation, and it just begs the question, what benefit do you add by feebly opening your mouth?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
So you're tired of your man just not stepping up, not being romantic, not treating you how you know you want to be treated, but you don't want to like discard the whole man. You just want to fix him a little bit. Don't worry, I got you. All you're going to do is you're going to praise him on the things that you want him to be like, but he's not like, okay? Hold on, let me explain. When you tell somebody thank you or I love this about you and they don't actually possess that, subconsciously they're going to feel more motivated to actually feel that for you and be that for you.
Bullshit! Bullshit!
No, what's more likely going to happen is that they're going to wonder why you're going out of your way to insult his intelligence. Now, woman, I know it's kind of hard to comprehend, but men are not lower beings. We're not dogs you can condition or fix. We are actually quite capable of intellectual thought and perfectly capable of thinking for ourselves. I know, who would have thought that human men were capable of such things that were once thought reserved strictly for gender studies majors with over 350 grand in debt? Men have designed skyscrapers, developed groundbreaking battle strategies which required cunning and intellect, and also wrote the plot to Final Fantasy VI. We are not stupid, and yet it is astonishing how far you are willing to go to try and avoid direct communication with a man to the point where you'd rather make a childish attempt to manipulate him into doing what you want instead of, you know, being an adult and talking to him.
It's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's basically like if somebody's always late and you start telling them, I just love how on time you are, and you don't have to be so obvious because they've just arrived 30 minutes late and you're like, I love how on time you are. They're gonna be like, are you good? What drugs are you on? I wasn't on time. But you subtly kind of drop it in there when the moment isn't about time or they've not been late. You just say like, what's your best quality? I love that you're always on time. I love how you're very punctual. Subconsciously, they're gonna feel motivated to like show up on time because now you've almost put them on a pedestal that they show up on time and they want to like prove to you that that is actually true.
It's the perfect plan.
Well, this plan only works if the man has the memory of a goldfish and is also profoundly stupid. And even then, it still won't work. And that's because the basis of your plan, which you just admitted you weren't even capable of explaining, by the way. Let me explain something to you, sweetheart. If you randomly mention how much you love that your man is on time when he has a track record of being late, he's gonna remember that record and get incredibly confused why you're doing that. And if you keep it up, you're just gonna piss him off because you're treating him like a dog and not like a man.
Yeah, see, I would hear this and just assume that you're being sarcastic as well. These videos, some of these people will do anything except just talk plainly. I don't understand what it is. We just can't communicate with people directly, right? We all have to be like, you know, subterfuge and you know, deceptive and manipulate the men into doing something. And you can already tell that this woman is all about manipulation and deception because she has lip fillers and veneers. And lip fillers, veneers, makeup, plus a filter on top of it. It's just absolutely insane how we will do anything other than actually talk to a man directly about what the problem is. Right? And the funny thing is, I love this sentence here. How to get him to step up, because this is a problem that a lot of women, quote unquote, have. When basically it's translation for, a man won't commit to me. What can I do to get him to commit to me? Now, I know she's talking about something slightly different here, but if a woman comes to me and says, how do I get a man to step up? That implies that he has to step up. Like, what on earth is this language? You know, it reminds me of the language of women who have children to other men, and then they're like, you know what, I need a stepfather. I need a guy to come in and step up and fill the role of a father and actually be a father to my kids. There is no stepping up. You're not above men. It's just, you can open this video and within 3 seconds tell that this woman would be an absolute headache to have a relationship with.
And once again, none of this would be necessary if you just calmly and clearly communicated that you don't like it when he's late. But you won't do that because then you'll have to admit that man has some kind of intelligence. And as we all know, you don't want to do that because of reasons you've yet to conjure.
This was in a book somewhere that I read, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember the book. But if I do remember, or any of you guys know, put it in the comments. So for your man, what you're going to do is you're going to praise him and say, I just love how romantic you are. I love that you always like spoil me. It makes me feel so good. I love this about you. I love this about you. Whatever the quality is that you want him to possess a little bit more, you're going to compliment that. I love that you're so thoughtful. I love that you're always thinking of me and considering me. Like, whatever it is, just praise that thing that you want him to step up a little bit more in. Grab my course, get him hooked. Chef's kiss.
Great plan.
Thank you. He likes your plan, Chief.
This is gold. This woman has a plan to manipulate men into doing what she wants. However, she can't clearly explain how to effectively put this plan into action, nor can she remember the book where she found this plan. And despite all of this, she still thinks she's smarter and more clever than the average dude. And if we boil everything down to what you're saying into a nicely sized, easy to digest chunk, you're essentially telling women to lie. Instead of praising men for their good qualities and making that man feel appreciated every once in a while, you're just gonna lie to him and treat him like a moron in the areas where you don't feel appreciated. And this just goes to show that modern women would rather move mountains and dance the tango with the devil in the fires of hell itself if it means they don't have to openly communicate with their man. And I don't need a book to tell me that basic communication is an effective tool to enact positive change in a relationship. It's called common sense, woman. I tell you to look into it, but I don't think you have the basic intelligence needed to grasp the concept.
So that's the end of the video here, guys, but it's also funny. One more thing I want to bring up before we end today's episode is that a lot of these people, it's just amazing how this woman is a dating coach who sells an online course. Okay, I guarantee you, right, every time I see one of these women on TikTok talking about, you know, I'm going to sell my dating course, the dating course is just complete and utter nonsense. Oftentimes they're divorced, or they're single mothers, or they don't even have a successful relationship, or they are just completely and utterly wrong about what men want. Every single time I see a female dating coach and I go to their profile and I look at what kind of information they're saying, it's absolute nonsense. It is man repellent, right? And yet they're still making lots of money off of women who buy into their crap. If you're a woman and you are unable to get commitment from a man, that says a lot. That really does. And the women who are offering courses, I guarantee you, never give the correct information on how to get a man to actually commit to you. Typically, it just revolves around, how can I manipulate the guy? And if you have to manipulate a man into a relationship or doing what you want, that's not going to end very well for you, right? And granted, guys, sometimes these women are actually quite good at manipulation, but the problem is the man just ends up feeling used, or he sees through your manipulation eventually, or he just straight up doesn't like you in the first place, so it's completely useless and a waste of time anyway. But, you know, speaking of waste of time, I guess that's what is the dating coach content over here on TikTok from these women. But guys, we're going to be leaving today's episode there. Remember to leave your thoughts and your comments. Make sure you take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next episode. Peace.